So Colorado Forward State Party Assembly will come to order. And thank you everyone for participating in this important step of building a stronger, more representative democracy here in Colorado. So our process today is designed to be fair and transparent and thoughtful and ensuring that every eligible member has a voice and that our candidates reflect our shared values. And whether you've been involved with the Colorado Forward Party for a while or this is your very first event, we're really glad you're here. And your presence matters because what we're doing today is a core part of how we strengthen democracy when we're together. So Kelly Dwyer is our moderator, and we'll be introducing our guest speakers and candidates. First, I would like to give a shout out to former presidential candidate and co-founder of the National Forward Movement, Andrew Yang. Thank you for joining us today, Andrew. And
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
yeah,
Congratulations, Colorado Forward Party, on this step, and kudos to the candidates in particular who are stepping up to run. I am beaming in. Where the heck is Andrew Yang? I am in a conference room in Salt Lake City, Utah, because the Utah Forward Party is having its convention. And my gosh, it's a sight. I mean, there were 250 people here today.
wow.
There were 22 candidates. They raised $10,000 like on the spot. And they're growing all the time. They have a sitting state senator, Forwardist, Emily Buss. And so, not to put pressure on you, Colorado, but I got to say that
I thought we were doing good.
you are doing great. You're doing stupendous. But yeah, your neighbors over here have a bit of a head start, truly, because this is maybe year 4 for them. And you're thinking to yourself, Forward's not even 4 years old or barely 4 years old. What happened was we merged with a group called the United Utah Party that then changed its name to the Forward Party of Utah. See how that worked?
Okay.
And then they also had a state senator switch, in his case, from the Republican Party to the Forward Party, and then his successor is a Forwardist. So being here in Utah is incredibly energizing and invigorating. It gives a sense of what is immediately on the horizon. A couple of things for fun I'm just going to share for you all, just because people enjoy this stuff. Um, there are any number of very prominent political independents running for statewide office in November. Two I like to spotlight for fun. Mike Duggan, who's running for governor of Michigan as an independent. Why am I excited about Mike, or why is Forward super excited about Mike? He's the 3-term mayor of Detroit, the biggest
Yeah,
city
yeah.
in the state, and he turned in his party badge as a Democrat and said the only way to move Michigan in a better direction is as an independent. Huh? And I'm heading to Michigan next month to appear with Mike, who's going to accept Ford's endorsement. They're leading. He's leading in the fundraising. 150 Black faith leaders endorsed him. He's leading or tied in some polls. So you could have an independent governor of Michigan end of this year. And in Montana, there's an independent who just declared for U.S. Senate, Seth Bodnar, who's the president of the University of Montana, a
Hmm.
former Navy SEAL, endorsed by John Tester, who used to be the
Yeah,
senator.
yeah.
And they just, I don't even think this got announced. This might not be public. They raised 1.4 million in the first month. And so you could have an independent U.S. senator who, by the way, also is accepting Ford's endorsement and we're working with closely by the end of this year. If you have Seth Bodnar in as a senator, or Lisa Murkowski this close, by the way, I met with Lisa multiple times about breaking away. She's barely a Republican at this point. I mean, and Alaska doesn't have primaries, so that she doesn't even have any process change if she switches. So if we get Seth in there and then Lisa, you might have a fulcrum in the U.S. Senate by January of next year. So there are very, very big opportunities on goal, but none bigger than what you all are doing in Colorado with the candidates who are stepping up to run. That's the proof of concept that everyone is waiting to see. Here in Utah, I mentioned there are 22 candidates and one sitting state senator. We have 79 electeds around the country that are affiliated with Forward in some way. By the end of this year, we think that number is going to be over 200. And then it's going to be very hard to put the genie back in the bottle. But this genie requires people like you all to grind and get out there and let your friends and neighbors know that there's a new party in town and that they do not need to feel constrained or stuck to this blue versus red nonsense that we all know is not moving us anywhere. Where the country, where Coloradans want to go, not left or right, but forward. So grateful to you all for making it happen.
Well, thank you, Andrew. I mean, if you're able to stay with us for a while, we'll get to our candidates in just a few moments.
Sure, would
Yeah.
love to stick around.
Okay. Yeah. So, what the folks on the call here, what you're going to see is that this is, if you've been part of like big Democratic conventions or big Republican conventions, this is not it, right? This is not a free for all. Our candidates, we have two main purposes today. One is focusing on our candidates. And then I brought forward some necessary but simple bylaw changes that we want the voters to accept or to review and vote to accept or not to accept. These are in our bylaws. We've written that our candidates that we bring forward, we need to know them. We have a relationship with them. They get vetted by a candidate committee, voted on by our executive committee. They meet our executive committee, and our national team weighs in with some deeper dive vetting on their backgrounds. So we have a rigorous process around doing this, and in doing so, yeah, it's not spontaneous. We're not having nominations from the floor, but it have it assures that we're bringing forward qualified candidates who put their communities and their districts ahead of party or themselves. So let's see. I've got things written down. I'm not just going to go into that. I do want to mention we're bringing forward 5 candidates today for your thoughtful review. And over the next 5 to 6 months, we're going to be also endorsing candidates from any party, Democrat, Republican, unaffiliated, minor parties, who demonstrate forward values and action. So that's going to be an ongoing process for the next 5 to 6 months. We encourage you to engage thoughtfully, listen openly, vote with intention. And democracy is not a spectator sport. We appreciate your engagement, and we're going to build something better together. So, one of the before Kelly's going to take it over from here, but I do want to say a word. One of the things to keep us focused is because the candidates presented and the bylaw changes presented have already been vetted and approved, and you have a chance to vote on up or down. We're going to ask that we suspend Robert's Rules of Order, which get into amendments and floor discussions and things like that. And also, so we want you to approve suspending Robert's Rules of Order, and we want you to accept the agenda that she presents. And so if you accept those 2 requests, that'll allow us to focus on our main purposes today and provide time for our candidates and Q&A in each of those segments. So Kelly, if you could just pick it up from here, please.
Sure. Thanks, David. And by the way, that is David Ryan, Colorado Forward Party Chair.
Thank you. Okay. All right.
You're welcome. All right. So welcome, everyone. We're so happy to have you here. And as David just mentioned, we have a couple of housekeeping items. The first is to suspend Robert's Rules of Order for this meeting. It'll help us to move quickly and efficiently, and for the reasons that David mentioned. So how we're going to do that, this passes with a majority. And we're gonna identify the majority by asking anyone who objects to us suspending Robert's Rules of Order for this meeting, raise your electronic hand. Okay? So if you object to us suspending Robert's Rules of Order, raise your electronic hand. And Wendy and Mike, it would be great if you could help. I don't see any hands raised. Let me know if I'm missing that. I'll give you 5 more seconds. Okay, that is passed. All right, second housekeeping is to consent to the agenda. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is our agenda. It looks like there's a lot on there, but as David said, there's really two main things that we're trying to accomplish in the meeting, and then there's um, some great context and inspiration from some speakers. So the first thing we're going to do is hear from some guest speakers. Now, we did hear from Andrew already. He may have some additional comments. So Andrew Yang, then we'll hear from Bob Marshall, and then we'll hear from David Leinweber. And then we'll move into meeting the candidates. So you're going to get to hear from each of the 5 candidates who are running as Colorado Forward candidates in this fall's elections. And then we're going to move into voting. Okay, and we are going to be using some voting software, and Steve Pittman, who's on the executive committee for the Colorado Forward Party, will be guiding us through that process. And in that process, because voting will take some time, we are going to hear from Tim Veldhuizen, who's an unaffiliated candidate, so not necessarily affiliated or running as a forward candidate. However, is aligned, and we want to hear from him because this is another model of folks running who are aligned with the Forward Party. Then we'll get the results of the vote. Then we'll move into the bylaws, approving the bylaw amendments. Okay, and we'll do another vote with that, and then we'll conclude the assembly. So it's now 3:16, and we're anticipating we'll close sometime between 4 and 5, depending on how long the voting process takes. Okay, so now we want to approve or have you consent to this agenda or approve this agenda by a vote of acclamation. And we're going to do that by having you raise your electronic hands. And again, this is a majority that a majority passes. So if you consent to this agenda, please raise your electronic hand. You can look to the bottom of your screen, see that little heart that says react. You click on that, and then you click raise hand. And it looks like, I see. So this is voting members. If you're a voting member. Wendy, would you say that we've got we have a majority? We have a majority of voting members that have.
I'm sorry, I didn't put my hand up. We have 31 logged in. And yes, that is more than half.
Okay. All right. We have our agenda. So thank you very much, everyone. And now we know, I think the software will automatically lower our hands after a period of time. Okay. So now I'm going to hand it back off to Dave. No. We're going to go right into speakers. Dave, are there additional comments you needed to make?
No, not at this time. Kelly,
Okay.
I think you go right ahead with Bob.
I
Okay.
do believe you need to lower your own hand. I mean, we can do it, but one at a time.
Okay. Okay, so although Andrew, you're still here, was there more you wanted to say in your remarks?
No, let's toss it to Bob. Thank you, though. I mean,
Okay.
but I'd much rather hear Bob.
Thank you so much for joining, Andrew, and for sharing what you did at the beginning of the meeting. Okay. Bob?
Yeah, well, thanks. So I just got off the floor down here in the Capitol. We went long on the budget, so kind of winging it on what to say. Colorado Forward Party got involved because Terrence Carroll, who was a former Speaker of the House, big supporter of mine, called me, and he was doing a lot of the legal work now. He's out for the Forward Party to get you all set up in Colorado, and said, hey, you really need to look at these people. They seem to match you. So I looked up the website. I'm like, holy smokes, this really does seem to match me. I was a Republican for 30 plus years. I thought a very good Republican. And then, of course, MAGA took over. And you can look at my bio. I set out, the political progression I had, where I got involved locally and then, finally had to leave the Republican Party. But the county I live in, Douglas County, is completely dominated by the Republicans. And they were doing a lot of just shady, good old boy local stuff down here. And I got involved and started pushing back, which made the Democrats love me down there because I was the first one holding these people accountable. So they came and asked if I'd run as a Democrat. And I said, well, okay. and became the first Democrat elected in Douglas County in more than 60 years to any partisan office. Puts me in a little bit of a weird situation, though, because I'm a real platypus, being the most conservative Democrat in the state house. I fight a lot with my own party, and I'm constantly fighting with the Republicans of Douglas County, but I match my constituents very well. And that's what lots of people say. And that's what you should be doing, is representing your people, not representing a party. I'm really big about good governance. That wasn't something I expected to get involved in, but I got down to the Capitol and it was like, oh my God, it was just incredibly bad in terms of the sunshine laws. Some of you may know that I sued the entire state legislature, which didn't make me very popular, but they were engaging in a long-term swampy stuff that they all knew was wrong, and we could change the rules, but we weren't even changing the rules. So it was wrong that we were imposing laws on other people and not even following the laws that the people put on us. So I've been pursuing vacancy election reform and commissioner elections reforms, which the Forward Party's been very good at trying to back me up on. The system has gotten just so partisan, and I could give so many examples of how partisan, unfortunately, it's gotten, where it's one side against the other. Today on the budget, I was the only Democrat to vote against the budget. First time I ever did in 4 years, but I know I am going to face an immense amount of backlash for that. And of course, there wasn't a single Republican who voted for it. But again, there used to be a little gray where you'd have people swinging between both sides on different issues. Don't see that anymore. It's really depressing. But I hope the Forward Party doesn't fall into the same purity trap, because when I was searching out your endorsement, I actually had someone on the panel on the endorsement absolutely insist that I had to endorse Proposition 131, which was the ranked choice voting and the jungle primary. Otherwise, I couldn't be endorsed by the party. And I had significant issues with it, especially the jungle primary issue, because it just looked like it would make it default to whoever was the richest person who could pay to play. So I couldn't support it, but it was a purity test. You said you had to. So we finally compromised, at least. And I said, look, I'm not going to, my party was pushing me to endorse it. Your party was pushing me not to endorse. So I just didn't do anything and kept quiet. But again, that's kind of an example of, I hope you all don't go down that route, because it's really not healthy to have parties that have, ideological rigidity within them. And that was another point too that came up quite a bit, is the Forward Party people that I first got introduced to were very big on having a multi-party system. And because of a lot of the research I've done, especially Karl Popper, I was a big believer in the two-party system and how effective it can actually be by making sure, when it's functioning properly, that the only way you can win power is to have 50% plus one. And that plus one has to come in the middle. So you kind of subsume the extremes into those parties, and they're not allowed to ever get into power. That's actually broken down. But the huge value I told them for a third party is not so much to create multi-party system, but to push one of the other parties to reform themselves, or replace it if they don't grow big enough to replace one of the two parties, or push them to reform. And we've seen that happen many times throughout American history, where the Whig Party finally imploded and the Republican Party took its place. So that's kind of how I see the lay of the land. And I really do appreciate the support I've gotten from the Forward Party. Again, we're kind of in a two-party system still. So to play in the game, so to speak, you really got to deal with the two parties. But I dropped my link in the site. You can look me up, and I'm going to have an extremely tough re-election, because I had the two closest elections, the last two cycles, and the Republicans are totally gunning for me. And I know there's a lot of people in my own party that would not be unhappy if they didn't see me come back. So got to get the middle of the road people to chip in and help. But I really appreciate it, and keep striving on. And I love the help on the good governance work I've been trying to get done.
Well, thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. You are impressive. And I believe Tony has a few words to say.
I don't get going anywhere just yet, Bob. So good afternoon, everyone. One of the most important things that the Colorado Forward Party does is recognize leaders who choose to solve problems rather than to exploit them for political gain. leaders who prioritize the health of our democracy over partisan gamesmanship. So today it's the distinct honor of the Colorado Forward Party to present our very first Champion of Good Governance Award. This award is a recognition of an elected official who has consistently stood up for the best interests of their constituents and worked to level the political playing field for every Coloradan, regardless of their party affiliation. So when we look for a champion, we look for someone who treats governance as a serious responsibility and not a zero-sum competition. Representative Marshall has personified this throughout his time in the General Assembly. Rep. Marshall understands that for government to work, it has to be representative. He's led the charge on critical reforms, including a bill working its way through the legislature as we speak, that will ensure that in our largest counties, every voter has a chance to cast a meaningful vote to choose their elected county officials. Beyond that, Rep. Marshall has fought to reform the way legislative vacancies are filled in Colorado and has been a consistent champion of a broad range of initiatives to make our government more effective, accountable, and responsive. These aren't always the easiest fights to pick, but they are the right ones to ensure a healthy democracy. While Rep. Marshall serves as a Democrat, he's a proud affiliate of the Colorado Forward Party and embodies Governor Christine Todd Whitman's words when she described him as an effective legislator who's not afraid to reach across the aisle. Representative Marshall, your work on the County Commissioner Elections Bill and your commitment to transparent, accountable leadership shows the public there are leaders in the Capitol working every day to improve our governing system. You prove that good ideas shouldn't have a permanent R or D branding attached to them. They should just have the best interests of the people at heart. It's leaders like you who give us hope that we can move past political dysfunction and toward a system that truly serves everyone. Representative Marshall, on behalf of the Colorado Forward Party, it is my privilege to present you with the Champion of Good Governance Award for 2026. Thank you for your service and for your courage.
Well, thank you a lot. I mean, it's actually going to help a great bit because, even my own supporters have pointed out you're more popular with your constituents than you are with the rest of the power players in the state. So getting that kind of thing that I can show constituents, because there'll be a lot of dark money flowing into my race. But at the end of the day, the people who make the decision are the ones, that I can go knock on the doors. And something like this is very helpful to let them know, piece by piece, I'm convincing a lot of people that you can do it the right way. You don't have to, bend to the special interests.
Well, congratulations, Bob. And thank you, Tony, for presenting Bob with that award. Okay, so we are going to move on. Now we're going to hear from David Leinweber, Colorado Springs City Council member.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm really thankful for this opportunity to be with you today. And I want to thank Andrew Yang for his comments and really his whole effort of really kind of bringing together this party and kind of stepping out there a little bit. So obviously he's done an exceptional job bringing this group together. So, and Bob Marshall, congratulations on your leadership there. I just really love this award that you got, and the words that you said I thought were pretty positive. I'm really pretty excited about that. So, but anyway, I'm honored to join this conversation as a Colorado Springs City Council member and a longtime owner of Angler's Covey, which is a local fly shop here in town. I come to public service from a very practical place. For more than 25 years, I've had the privilege of building a small business, creating jobs, serving people, and spending countless days on the rivers and streams of Colorado. Over the years, I've learned something that has shaped the way that I lead. Leadership is not about winning arguments. It's about solving problems for people. And in a very practical way, that's kind of what I've been doing over the last 25 years. Because fly fishing, at its core, is the pursuit of solving problems. See, when you step up to a river or a high mountain lake, you don't begin by forcing an answer. You begin by observing. You study the water, you pay attention to the current, the weather, the season, the insect activity, heck, the wind. I had to do it outside here, of course. And the behavior of the fish, right? You gather as much information as possible before you make your first cast. Then you test the approach. Sometimes it works. Often it doesn't. So you adjust. You change the fly. You change the presentation. You move the position. You learn from what the river is telling you. And with patience, perseverance, and yes, a little luck on your side, you eventually can earn the reward. It may be a beautiful Colorado cutthroat trout. So to me, leadership kind of works the same way. You don't begin with ideology. You begin by listening. You study the problem, you gather the facts, you bring people together, you make adjustments as you learn, and you stay focused on the outcome. Real solutions begin to emerge. That belief is what led me into public service. Colorado Springs City Council is a nonpartisan race. It's not partisan. And I believe that's important. I was not elected to defend a party. I was elected to defend outcomes and deliver on them. One of the most meaningful examples of that is our 1,000 neighborhood gathering initiatives here in Colorado Springs. As we looked at the growing challenges around mental health, isolation, and loneliness, we kept coming back to one root issue. People were feeling disconnected. They don't know their neighbors. They don't know, they do not feel part of the larger community. So we asked a simple question. What if one of the first steps towards healing is helping neighbors reconnect? That idea became the Neighborhood Gathering Initiative. The concept was simple. Neighbors inviting neighbors, gathering in front yards, driveways, cul-de-sacs, parks, just right on your street. No politics, no bureaucracy, just people coming together. What happened was extraordinary. In our first year, our community hosted 980 neighborhood gatherings. 980 moments of connection. 980 opportunities for people to meet someone new, check in on one another, and begin rebuilding the social fabric that makes our city resilient. To me, that's where the real change begins. Not always in City Hall. Sometimes it begins right outside your front door. And that might be a small challenge to everybody here. I've seen this principle play out in other important parts of our community life, particularly the great outdoors. 12 years ago, a small group of us that I kind of pulled together, we came together and shared a vision for our regional outdoor future. That effort became Pikes Peak Outdoor Recreation Alliance. We started with a handful of people, and it's grown to a broad coalition of community leaders, public agencies, nonprofits, and business partners working together to steward one of the greatest outdoor assets in the country, Pikes Peak, America's Mountain. In fact, just yesterday, we held an outdoor leadership summit, bringing over 100 people together, 100 leaders together across the community to discuss critical issues facing our outdoor spaces. That, to me, is leadership. Not defending positions, building coalitions, listening first, focusing on outcomes. So whether the challenge is mental health, our public spaces, community vitality, economic opportunities, the path forward is still the same. Listen first, bring people together, solve real problems. That's how Colorado grows stronger. That's how Colorado leads with purpose. That's how Colorado moves forward. I want to thank everyone. So you guys keep up the good work. I really like this. So, hi Wes, did I do okay?
Thank you, David.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
That was very inspiring. The phrase that got me, it's not about winning arguments, it's about solving problems. So thank you for the work that you're doing.
You bet.
Okay. Thank you very much to everyone who's spoken so far today. Now we are going to move on to meeting our candidates who are running this fall. Okay. And as Dave mentioned in the intro, candidates go through a very methodical step-by-step vetting process with the Colorado Forward Party and even with the national forward movement where it's appropriate, before they're even stepping forward to you today to be voted on, right? To be accepted. So we're going to hear from 5 candidates, and each candidate is going to speak for about 3 to 5 minutes. And then after all 5 speak, we're going to have some time for Q&A. So write down your questions. You can put them in the chat if you want to. You can just write them down and hold them for Q&A, the Q&A time. First, we're going to hear from Christina Schultz, who's running for Mesa County Treasurer. Then we're going to hear from Bill Hare, who's running for House District 4, the Colorado legislative candidate. Sam Bradley, who's running for Larimer County Assessor. Celeste Landry, who's running for Colorado Secretary of State. And then we'll hear from Robert Chu, he'll round us out, who's running for U.S. Senate. Okay, so I'm going to now hand it off to you, Christina. So if you could open up your mic and introduce yourself and share what you'd like to share about your candidacy.
Thank you so much, Kelly. As Kelly mentioned, my name is Christina Schultz, and I am running for Mesa County Treasurer. I have over 2 decades of finance and accounting experience. I have an MBA, and I have been on a budget since 5th grade. I believe that I have the skills and knowledge and experience necessary to protect, report, and grow county funds. This is not a policy position. This is a job that requires the right skills and the right experience, and I believe I bring that to the table. This position in Mesa County has not been contested in over 40 years. So this is the first time in 40 years that there will be multiple people on the ballot. It is going to be a tough win, but there is a path to victory. But in order to get there, I need your help. I have no shortage of people giving me advice and ideas and feedback and all kinds of things that I should do to win this race. What I am short on is time and money. So if you believe in putting experienced people into jobs that need to get done in our government, I'd encourage you to go to my website and either make a donation or sign up to volunteer. And even if you can't do that, if you know anyone in Mesa County, even casually, please reach out to them and let them know that this down ballot boring race might not be so boring if the wrong person is elected. And if you know anything about Mesa County, the last thing we need is more drama in our politics. Let's keep things boring, everybody, okay? I am super excited to be seeking the Forward Party's nomination. I am aligned principally and practically with what the Forward Party stands for. And what I love most about the Forward Party principles is that I believe you want people in elected office that will make good decisions. Because at the end of the day, that's what leadership is all about, is making good decisions. And I want to be that candidate for you. I know some of you might be just checking out the Forward Party. Maybe you're not a voting member. Maybe you're a former or current R or D or I or G or L or all those letters. And I was curious as to what letter we would be. And I guess we're the Fs, like we're going to be the F party. Someone might not have thought that through, but the more I think about it and the more I think about the state of our democracy and the state of our elections and the state of our politicians, maybe it's time to F it. So I hope that you will all consider effing it with me, supporting my campaign. I'm happy to answer all of your questions once the other candidates have had a chance to speak. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Christina. Love the energy. Okay, the F party. All right, Bill Hare, please open up your mic and introduce yourself and share a little bit about your candidacy.
Right. Can you all hear me? Fantastic. Good afternoon. And Christina, you have my support for sure. And I almost feel as though I don't need to say much. All I need to do is say, David, what you said, because that was wonderful commentary. My name is Bill Hare, and I am seeking to run on the Forward Party ballot line for Colorado State Representative in District 4. I'll be running against a Democratic incumbent that appears to be unopposed. District 4 covers a large portion of West and Northwest Denver. I'm running because I'm deeply worried about the future of our democracy and the future we're leaving for our children and our grandchildren. I know it sounds trite, but unfortunately today it's very real. I am not and have never been a politician, but these deep concerns have driven me to want to make a contribution. When elected, I won't think of myself as a politician, but rather as a public servant. I have 3 objectives in this campaign, which I want to share with all of you. And I'm going to give them to you in order of importance. Number 1, my primary objective is to promote the Forward Party and the primary tenets of cross-aisle problem solving and election reform. Secondly, I want to prevent an incumbent in District 4 from running unopposed. That's just not the way it should be. And third, I'm running to win. I think I can make a difference. It's, as Christine said, it's going to be a tough battle, but I am running to win. I'm an ardent member of the Colorado Forward Party because I want to fight to repair our government, and I believe it begins with election reform. Our current 2-party system is broken and polarized. It has brought America to its knees. Republicans and Democrats alike are in bed with their corporate benefactors. We will not be able to truly fix much of what is broken until we reform our electoral system and get corporate money out of politics. The cornerstones of my campaign, which I will emphasize every day and at every event, will be ranked choice voting, open primaries, independent redistricting, and an end to Citizen United. Corporate PAC money is not welcome in this campaign. I have called District 4 home for 10 years. My wife and I moved here to purchase a small manufacturing company, and I've been very active as a board member in 2 of Denver's registered neighborhood organizations. Before Denver, I've always been very active in the community. I've sat on numerous nonprofit boards such as United Way, a literacy council, and economic development organizations. I grew up outside of New Haven, Connecticut. Both my parents were educators. After graduating college, I lived in Wisconsin for over 35 years. My industrial design degree is from Philadelphia College of Art, and my MBA is from Northwestern. My wife of 20 years, Noelle, is an author of books on 19th century female reformers, and she is the editor-in-chief of an open access journal that amplifies underrepresented stories and cultural artifacts. My son, Lawton, is a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, currently serving with his family in Korea, and I'm very happy to report that my 14-year-old grandson, Alexander, loves living abroad. As a state house representative for District 4, there will be lots of issues to weigh in on besides election reform. What I will bring to all those issues is a commitment to pragmatic problem solving in the service of all residents in District 4. Beyond election reform, the guiding principles for my campaign are fiscal responsibility, getting government out of the way of small business, protecting the less fortunate in our society, and being a good listener who prioritizes residents over special interests, political parties, or donors. As I stated, my second objective is to not let an incumbent run unopposed. Democracy dies when voters have a lack of choice. Independents should never run unopposed. It's a symptom of something is broken when they do. Democrats may dominate District 4, but independents represent 50% of registered voters statewide. Because of my extensive work in Denver neighborhood organizations, I know how to meet residents where they live. And I can tell you it's sorely needed. R&O meetings, farmers markets, community events are examples of the vehicles I will use to make sure I'm hearing from my constituents. I know many of you are not from Denver, but it's important for me to finally mention two issues that are unique to District 4 and that will get attention while I'm in office. One is the future redevelopment of the old Empower Field, and the second one is literally saving Sloan's Lake. So thank you for this time. Thank you for your support, and I look forward to a fantastic campaign. Take care.
Bill, thank you very much. There's a theme here: increasing choice for voters, responsible stewardship. I love it. Okay, we are going to hear from Sam Bradley next, running for Larimer County Assessor. So Sam, if you could please open your mic.
Thank you,
Introduce
Kelly.
yourself. All right, thank you.
Can you hear me okay? Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for being here today. And I do want to take a minute to thank the Forward Party team, the leadership team who's worked so hard to put this together. You know, Wendy, Steve, David, and all those guys. It's not an easy job. And so, you know, what you're doing is important. We really appreciate it. So again, my name is Sam Bradley, and I am seeking to run on the Forward Party line for Larimer County Assessor. I was born and raised right here in Larimer County. I'm extremely proud to be raising my family in the same community I grew up in. And I want it to be as good to my children as it was to me. So what got me interested in getting more involved in politics is an opportunity to serve my community, which is also why I'm seeking the assessor position, because that's not really a political position. It's basic good government, a job that needs to be done, and it needs to be done well every day. So a little bit about myself. I'm an engineer. I went to Colorado School of Mines, and I spent about the last 2 decades as a staff engineer and building small businesses in the energy industry. And about 10 years ago, I ran into some challenges between the business community and the government. And I got involved with some local trades, some small business trades. Some of them you may know, like Pro 15 in Eastern Colorado. And I really enjoyed getting to know a group of small business owners, talking about issues, and then engaging with the government on how to solve those problems. I just really did. And so, you know, as I thought about what can I do next to continue to serve my community, I got to know Dave Ryan a little bit and the Forward Party and the values and the message and the common sense solutions, serve the people, you know, disagree agreeably. It really resounded with me. And that's why I decided to run. As assessor, there's a couple priorities that I think are exceptionally important, right? First of all, it's an analytical process. So my businesses have been in the real property space, and a lot of that is appraising and evaluating property values. The assessor doesn't set taxes, they don't levy taxes, they discover and assess the value of the properties across the county that then get taxed. And so having a very analytical and cautious open-mindedness to the use of technology for this process is important. The second thing is remembering that you work for the people and they pay your salary. And so you have to be accessible, you have to be open, you have to be fair. A very part of the assessing process is when a property owner disagrees with the assessed value and asks you to take a second look at it. That's very important that that process is taken seriously in a friendly way and an accessible way. And, the last thing that intrigues me, and I feel a little bad for a lot of Colorado's assessors over the last 5 or 6 years, because as you all may know, property values have been going through the roof. And that's not just because everybody and their brother is moving to Colorado. And so there's a lot of competition to purchase properties, and it's a market, it's a market-based economy. But you guys may know that we appealed the Gallagher Amendment several years ago, and that decoupled or uh, changed the process for residential property value assessments. And it's been exceptionally challenging for all these assessors to try to manage that. So in my race, there is an incumbent who has filed to run again. He's a Democrat. And there is a Republican who's filed to run. And I hope that giving my community a forward party candidate as an option either propels me into that office or just simply turns the temperature down and keeps the race focused on basic good government. So I really appreciate you all.
Thank you, Sam. Good luck in your race. All right, Celeste Landry. We're going to hear from Celeste next. She's running for the Colorado Secretary of State. Celeste, please unmute.
I'm going to
Introduce
start
yourself.
off wearing my math hat, Make America Think Harder. Thank you very much, Andrew Yang. This is from your 2020 campaign. I was a math teacher for a long time, so I had to, I'm all about people thinking harder.
Thank you, Celeste. Really appreciate it.
One of my opponents called herself an election nerd, but I think I have her beat. I will try to not get too much into the weeds on this, but the Forward Party knows that I've already been talking to them about paperwork for, and I put in there the House district that Bill Hare is running for. I mean, I pay attention to all those details. So my name again is Celeste Landry. I've lived in Colorado since 1994. I've raised 2 daughters here. Bill, I'm interested in finding out your wife's name because my daughter is also a writer. She's living in Mexico City right now. Let's see. I've already had a candidate forum. Only 4 of the 7 candidates showed up. Thank you to Bill for showing up and Dave. I think it went pretty well. I see a path to victory. I think I'm clearly the best candidate for this job. The other candidates are not fighting for the issues that I've been fighting for. If you look at my campaign material, I've got 3 priority issues. Better representation is the one I've been working on for more than a decade. And Bob Marshall is not a huge fan of the part of the Prop 131, but I was a fan of it. It wasn't perfect, but I thought it was pretty good. And I actually, with another person, wrote a rebuttal to Michael Bennet, our U.S. Senator, arguing point by point against his opposition to Prop 131. I've also been working on election integrity for quite a long time. That's one of my other issues. And I am on a weekly call with people about auditing elections, and I'm paying close attention to the Tina Peters situation. I think that when people think about the Secretary of State race, they're only really thinking about the national scene and what we're going to do about it. And I would fight hard for democracy. And that's the Forward Party is all about being pro-democracy and in favor of election reform, as well as other things, as you know, like good ethics, accountability, transparency, talking to your constituents. So I love being part of the Forward Party. I Um, there are two viable candidates in this race. They're both Democrats. They've raised over $100,000. So feel free to give me some money. I've accepted voluntary spending limits, so I can accept twice as much as they can from an individual. And that amount is $2,900. The third issue that I'm interested in is the right to vote. And there's a lot of talk on the national scene about the right to vote, but I also see us in Colorado eroding the right to vote all by ourselves without any help from the national leaders or administration. And so that is what seriously prompted me to run this time around, so I can bring some visibility to that. And I am happy to be here. And I think that's pretty much what I have to say. I'm welcoming questions after all the candidates speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Hey,
Celeste.
Celeste, I have a part of a pitch for you. Do you know that America is the only democracy in the world that has the people that run elections from one party or another? So you could just say like, hey, why would you have a referee that's wearing one of the team's jerseys? You should have an actual Coloradan independent. I think some people would find that appealing.
And also, you think about like the Hanging Chads 2000, what year was it? 2000 election?
2004, I think.
2004 election.
No, 2000. You're right.
It was 2000.
2004
okay.
was Kerry.
But
2000 was Gore. You're right.
The Florida campaign chair for George W. Bush was the Secretary of State. Really? Come on. Ohio has had the same issue. One of the things I'm trying to do besides getting the Forward Party nomination is today I went to the Unity Party State Assembly and I got endorsed by them. If Jennifer Hopkins on this call is with the No Labels Party, I've tried to reach out to the No Labels Party to get cross-endorsed by them. So if I can be seen as a viable, nonpartisan kind of candidate, I think in this atmosphere of a pox on both their houses, I could win. Right now, the Republican Party is in a shambles in Colorado. So I'm thinking this is a path to victory. I'm serious. I'm in it to win it. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Celeste. The Unity Party is a really good fit for Forward Party too. They also say not left, not right. Yeah. So.
Okay, thank you, Celeste. All right, Robert Chu for U.S. Senate. If you could please open your mic and introduce yourself, share a little bit about your candidacy.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here to support the Colorado Forward Party. Thank you for caring about our country and our election process. As we approach the 250th birthday of this great republic, it's time to declare independence from the powerful but dysfunctional red versus blue stalemate and extremism that have poisoned our national politics. I am humbled to be your candidate for United States Senate, humbled to have your support, and humbled by the great tasks ahead. I am up to this challenge. First, I am a Navy veteran. I served as an officer on a nuclear submarine, part of our silent service during the Cold War. At the age of 24, I and a few other young Americans, also in their 20s, operated a nuclear power plant hundreds of feet below the ocean's surface. When I stood watch as officer of the deck, I was responsible for the entire ship operation and the lives of 100 sailors each and every day. Underwater for weeks at a time, you learn lessons that stay with you for the rest of your life. I learned the weight of immense responsibility. I responded to critical operational challenges while relying on the proper actions of my shipmates, and I helped keep our nation safe from our adversaries. This experience has left me with a quiet strength and a lifelong sense of duty to something greater than myself. A decade later, I founded a company that will soon celebrate its 30th anniversary. Together with my employees, we created hundreds of jobs, which provided security for their families. We helped bring life-saving medicines to patients young and old. And many of our employees are now multimillionaires thanks to our broad-based employee ownership. I began my career serving our great country. I was successful in business, and now I am compelled to serve again. I am willing to invest considerable time and money to run for an office where I can make a significant difference. Our system is broken, and one example is that over the past 30 years, there have been 6 government shutdowns. Half were instigated by Republicans and half by Democrats. In each case, the parties were unwilling to sit down and compromise, instead grandstanding to garner political points. Now, of those 6 shutdowns, how many were successful in achieving the objective? 0. Yet each one cost you billions of taxpayer dollars, each one impacted federal workers and their families, and each one disrupted vital services. Meanwhile, the challenges of our national debt, deficit spending, and the need to reform our social support programs are daunting, and they remain unsolved. Today, our national debt stands at $39 trillion, and we spend over $1 trillion per year just for interest payments on that debt. This drives up your borrowing costs for a car and for a home. We now spend more for interest on our national debt than we do on defense. This is madness, and this will lead to economic ruin. Now, does anyone really think that flipping the Senate blue will solve these problems? No. Does anyone really think that keeping the House red will solve these problems? No. But as an independent in the Senate, I will have more leverage than any single red or blue senator might have. I'm an engineer, and engineers solve problems. I will help restore the American dream for all generations: affordability, opportunity, security, and the rewards of a healthy community and a healthy planet. My governing pillars are to act with integrity, listen to my constituents with compassion, develop real solutions to the problems we face, and make a lasting impact for the good of Colorado and our country. I commit to being honest with you as I tackle these very tough issues head on. My email is in the chat. I probably have the steepest hill to climb of any of the 5 candidates here on this call, but I am confident that the message that I'm putting out there and the solutions that I'm offering is at least going to force an adult conversation with the major parties about the serious issues facing us. I need the support of everyone attending this event. I need each of you to convince friends and family that a vote for forward candidates is not a wasted vote. A forward vote is a statement that you reject the status quo, the divisive 2-party failure that has brought such dysfunction to our government. Your forward vote is a statement demanding change, and your forward vote is a statement in support of what each of us stands for. We can only succeed with all of us working together for our communities, our state, and this great nation. I will work to ensure opportunity for all and a prosperous future together. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your devotion to forward, and I thank you all for being great Americans.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay. Thank you so much, Christina, Bill, Sam, Celeste, and Robert. We're now going to move into a period of Q&A. So for all of us who were listening to our candidates share their positions and views, and if you have a question, what we're going to do is I want you to raise your electronic hand. So you can either put it in the chat or raise your electronic hand. And for those of you who raise your electronic hand, I'll call on you. You can unmute your microphone and ask your question. Be clear about who you're asking the question of, which candidate, and be succinct in your question, please. So don't take 3 minutes to ask your question, okay? Try to ask your question in 40 seconds or less, all right? Okay, so I am going to pull up the participants and see if there's anyone that has raised their hand. I don't yet see anyone raising their hand, so let's move to Gary. You had made a comment, you had a question for Celeste. And John answered your question, but Celeste, do you have there? Gary Swing put a question in the chat. Celeste, as a candidate for Secretary of State, would you use your campaign to advocate for proportional representation to secure fair, inclusive, multi-party representation in legislative offices? Would you like to answer that, Celeste?
Yes. I did answer it in the chat actually, but I will say a couple of other things. The Proportion Pro Rep Coalition, based mostly in Canada, is following my campaign. They know I'm a strong advocate for proportional representation. I think the only way we can get minor parties to become active players is if we have proportional representation. So you can see John Lemke responded that we talk about this. And then I responded also that here we are getting down to the details, but since 2008, the Secretary of State has been tasked to write those rules in statute, and they haven't done it. They finally got around to writing the rules for the single winner instant runoff voting elections. But it's about time they just do it for everybody. Longmont wants proportional representation, so let's just write those rules. Let's prioritize that. If you want more details, let me know. I've been working with the League of Women Voters for a long time. We have a lot of like here. I'll put a link to our proportional representation page there. You can go and find out more information. Yes, big priority for me.
Thank you, Celeste. Okay, Robert Chu, Janine Reed has a question for you. What might you have done differently than our current Colorado senators this past year?
Well, when it comes to the shutdown, the two shutdowns that happened, if I had been a Democrat, well, I'm not a Democrat. As an independent, basically dropping the hint rather loudly that I'm in the middle here and I want to see the two parties sit down and hash things out. There was actually a conversation that took place between Mark Wayne Mullen as he was stepping into his new role and a Democratic House member, Josh Gottheimer, from New Jersey, and they basically forged a compromise around the Department of Homeland Security funding, but it went nowhere. But here you had two key players forging a compromise, and that's what I would contribute to doing.
Okay, thank you. This is a question for Celeste from Jessica O'Connell. Can you explain what you mean by events that are eroding voter representation in Colorado?
Muted.
You're on mute, Celeste.
Okay, I thought I said eroding the right to vote, not voter representation. I mean, we can talk about voter representation, and that's a sort of a vague term, but the right to vote, are you allowed to vote, period. And since 2020, there have been two things that have happened in Colorado that the Colorado Secretary of State has been basically mute on that I find appalling. So one of them is in 2020, well, it started in 2019. There was a bill written by Senator Fenberg, and I worked on one small part of that bill. He changed Colorado's laws so that if you were 17 years old for the primary, but you were going to be 18 for the general, then you could vote in the primary. A third of the states do this. Since the primary is often the determining election, that's wonderful. Plus, it gets people in the habit of voting. Maybe when they're 18, they've left home and the first time they vote will be away from home. So that was great. But then in November, Amendment 76 was passed by the voters, which changed the Colorado Constitution from every person who is a citizen and 18 years old can vote to only a person who is a citizen and 18 years old can vote. And the Attorney General interpreted that to mean that the 17-year-olds who could vote in the primary before no longer could. So you can go to my website on the priorities page. I've got this under the right to vote section, is the letter that I sent to the Secretary of State asking them to go to the Attorney General and have them reconsider their interpretation. The county clerks were fine with having 17-year-olds who are going to be 18 in the general vote in the primary, and I'm not sure that the voters understood what they were voting for when they adopted Amendment 76. So that's one thing. That didn't affect that many people, but the thing that happened last year that's going to affect all of us, take away the right to vote in every legislative district in Colorado, was the passage of House Bill 1315 and House Bill 1319. And Bob Marshall voted against both of those. Thank you, Bob. So 1315 affected county commissioners and took effect immediately. 1319 took effect immediately. 1315, and these are also on my website. You can go to the priorities right to vote section. 1319 was county commissioners. That one took effect immediately. 1315 is going to take effect in 2027. And if somebody resigns from a populous county as county commissioner, as they did in El Paso County, then there's a vacancy committee that picks their replacement. But then what the government did was they said, you can hold an election and you can prohibit certain people from voting because they don't belong to the right party. So anybody in El Paso County District 5 who was a Forward Party member was not allowed to vote for their county commissioner. What are we doing? Why are we not letting people vote? That's not okay. And this will affect every legislative seat starting in 2027 that has a vacancy that happens before, I think it's July 30th of 2027. So it's a violation. The legislative seats are a violation of the U.S. Constitution, 14th Amendment, Section 2. So we need to challenge this as Secretary of State. I would say, oh, this is an election that I'm overseeing. This is called a Title I election. We're not going to do it. You don't like what I'm saying? Fine, go to court. The court will decide if it's constitutional or not constitutional. I see no way for it to be considered constitutional. So back in the weeds. Sorry, everybody.
Thank you, Celeste. Okay, we've got one more question for you and two questions for Bob Chu, and then we will move to voting. Okay, so Celeste, if elected, would you be willing to make voter records private so they can't be used by any party for targeting, or at the very least expand the opt-out to allow anyone to make their information confidential?
So I think what I'm hearing is would the default be confidential information or like, so Ben, are you talking about some voters are confidential voters right now? And all voters all people who are not registered to vote who are not yet 18 are considered confidential voters. Are you asking to make that just for everybody?
Currently, the only people who can opt out of having their voter records be shared with anyone who requests it are people that I think are victims of domestic dispute or certain law enforcement. It's pretty limited. But otherwise, by default, every single Colorado voter has their information shared with whoever requests it. It's considered public.
Right. I think I fall now as a candidate for Secretary of State. I fall in that I can be considered confidential, so my information won't be shared. But you're right. It is considered a public record. I have to think about that. Maybe we could talk offline and you could tell me, it sounds like you're in favor of making that information private, and I want more people to participate, and if you can't reach those people, then it's going to be harder to get people to participate.
Yeah.
So
I'm in favor of, oh, sorry. Go ahead,
No,
Dave.
Celeste, I would encourage a conversation with Ben. He's a very thoughtful guy. So
great.
yeah.
Thank you. To both of you.
Okay. Thanks, Ben. All right. Robert Chu,
All
how
right.
do you differentiate yourself from the Republican candidate running against you?
Well, if that candidate is elected, that candidate will follow the party line. That candidate, as a senator, will do whatever party leadership says, and that's likely whatever the president says. One of the major problems we have is that the legislative branch, its independence, its ability to be a check and balance on the executive branch, has been eroded because of the power of the primaries and of the executive to influence all that. So take, for example, voting for cabinet secretaries. There you go. I'll look at the person and the issues, and whereas the Republican would more than likely need to vote the party line. I used to be a Republican. Basically, the last time I voted Republican for president was 2012, Mitt Romney. I won't go any further into that. So hopefully that answers that question. And the next one is also directed towards me about too few things are made in America. How would you bring manufacturers back to America? I think the real question is, how do we stimulate job creation in America, regardless of whether it's manufacturing or services, software development, science and discovery of new therapies for untreated diseases? All kinds of good paying jobs are possible if we have the right conditions for the companies, large and small. I started a company from zero. It's now 750 people. We work for some of the biggest companies in the world, both on the tech side and pharmaceutical side. There's thousands of unfilled manufacturing jobs. They're just not right here in Colorado, but they are in America because we don't have the workers with the skills, the education to fill those.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I think at this time. And Robert, if you've got a link to your website and fundraising site, if you could throw it into the chat, that would be great.
Yeah.
And I think it would be wise for us to do a follow-up email, Gil, if you're listening, a follow-up email with all the candidates' links to their fundraising sites if they're not already linked from our website. Okay, I'm going to pass it over to Steve Pittman, and he's going to introduce the voting process and wisely shepherd us through this.
Before I do that, this is Gil, if all the candidates could put your websites in the chat, I'm not sure I have them all, and then I'll put that email out tonight.
Bob, did you want to address your website issue?
Yeah, I've got some my day job, so to speak, has some interference with my website and fundraising site, so that'll come up here in the next several weeks. But in the meantime, you've got my email there in the chat, and I'm welcome to talk to you one-on-one.
Bob, you also have an address people can mail checks to, don't you?
I do. I can put that in there, although I was going to share that if anyone really wanted to do that, but I'll put that in there now as well.
You can also learn more about Bob on his LinkedIn.
Robert Chu, Andrew Yang is wondering if anyone aside from him has thought you were Asian because of your name.
Yeah, when I used to travel overseas on Singapore Air and they saw my name and I walked on the jet bridge and they did a double take. Now, my daughter is a PhD and she speaks a lot of places, and she kind of uses that to her advantage.
Okay. Okay, so Steve, are we ready to
Yeah,
move
thanks,
to voting?
Kelly. Okay, hi, everyone. In a few minutes, the election system we are using will send an email to those people eligible to vote. The email will be sent to the email address you used when RSVPing to the event on the Colorado Forward calendar for this virtual assembly. The email subject will start with Vote Now, Colorado Forward Party, followed by the name of this election. The body of the email will contain a link to your ballot access key, which will be one of your email addresses, and your access key, which will be a random 4-digit number. To vote, you must open the link in the browser, copy and paste or enter your access key when prompted, and copy and paste or enter your 4-digit access key. You must make your desired selections on your ballot, indicate when your selections are complete, and click Submit after reviewing a summary of your selections. Please note it might be necessary to scroll to the bottom of your ballot to find the button to indicate that your ballot selections are complete and/or click Submit. And please note, you must click Submit in order for your ballot to be submitted and counted. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and trigger the election software to send the email. And you should now, please check your email address. And by the way, once you've submitted your ballot, you'll get an acknowledgement in your browser window. Once you get the acknowledgement, it's best to leave the browser window open with that acknowledgement. If we're gonna do another vote, and if you leave that browser window open, you'll be able to return to the browser window and vote in the next election without having to re-enter the authenticating information. If you're having trouble voting, you should raise your virtual hand in the Zoom meeting and unmute, or you may be asked to unmute. And once you're unmuted, you can talk to someone who can help you troubleshoot. And I guess everybody here is familiar with how to raise your hand, so I'm not going to go into any alternatives to that. So I guess I will now kind of open the floor. Okay, Carmen, go ahead. Carmen.
Carmen, you have to unmute.
I asked him to unmute and he isn't
I'm
responding.
sorry, my apologies. I have not received the email.
Okay, so
Just came.
I just got it. It was slow.
Yeah, I just got it.
well, first thing then, Carmen, let me find you in the voting list and let you know. Yeah, it went to your me.com address.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I don't see it yet, but I'll lower my hand.
Okay, well, and yeah, if you haven't gotten it in a couple of minutes, please let us know and we'll try and figure out what we can do about that. Anybody else have any trouble voting?
It was just slow in getting here.
I'm
Okay.
looking for it. I've got a few different email addresses.
Oh yeah, I can tell you, Celeste, which email address we use for you also. Let's see. Wendy, I don't find Celeste in the voting list you sent me. That's weird.
You sent me an earlier email and I got that one. That went to my CH Landry one.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve, I was able to vote and submit, so you should.
Okay. Remember, just leave the browser window open once you voted to make it more convenient when the next vote comes up. Although if you've closed the browser window, you will get a second email and be able to go through that same process again to authenticate. So
Steve, will you
Carmen,
be
have
able
you
to
gotten your
add me?
ballot yet? Or your email yet? I'll take silence as probably a yes, so that's good.
Okay. So, Wendy, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to see if Steve was going to be able to add Celeste to the next one.
Yes, I will. I
Is she
can.
down at the bottom in gray?
Yeah, she might be. I did not take the people in gray. You told me not to, right?
Yeah, somehow I missed.
I see. Okay. Let me just hop over and see how the voting is going and
I've
how many
been
people.
disenfranchised.
The irony.
Yeah.
You know, if the vote
Suck it
doesn't
up,
turn out in your
Celeste.
favor, we'll do it again.
Right, right. Okay, so I think now, while we're continuing with the voting, Dave, is now a good time. Okay, so we also have in the meeting with us Tim Veldhuizen. He's running as an independent for U.S. Congress in District 4. So, Tim, if you could unmute and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your candidacy.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Tim Veldhuizen, and I really thank Dave and the Forward Party for all of the support and the information to get me this far down the road. When I'm not campaigning, I'm a cheesemaker, a farmer, and a builder. I spent most of my career in the restaurant business, but looking for a new chapter right now and enjoying it so far. I'm running in this race because I've watched the two major parties drift further and further apart and abandon the vast majority of the people they are supposed to be serving. Sitting on the sidelines and complaining about this dysfunctional government isn't enough. This is not what representative government is supposed to look like. The truth is, you couldn't ask for a higher profile race than Colorado's 4th district to prove that there is a better way forward. Lauren Boebert is barely tolerated by the Republicans, and a Democrat can't win in this district. Yet each side finds voting for the other side impossible. Practically everyone in the district is looking for an option. I'm that option. A pragmatic, moderate, more interested in solving problems than celebrity. We've all talked about what it would take to change the outcome of these elections, and that is where it usually ends. Not this time. At some point, we have to decide that we are just talking about it, or are we going to make the change? It starts here. My website is tim4co.com/victory. I'm asking you to take a look at my campaign and choose to help us make Colorado and the 4th District an example of a new way forward and what is really possible. We need your help with fundraising, endorsements, and networking. Community leaders that are willing to endorse us are critical to building a strong team. We will participate in any networking events that will allow us to spread the word and meet more people ready for hope and action. Of course, we need more funding to help grow the change, so anything you can donate helps. We can keep discussing what's possible, or we can prove it. Please stand up, invest, and help us do something that the quiet majority of Coloradans are desperately waiting for. Thank you so much for your time and listening, and I really appreciate all of your help. Thank you.
If I could say one thing, Tim, last fall, I was going to run for House in Colorado District 4, and then I met Tim over coffee and lunch, and I decided he was the better candidate for that. I would have been a carpetbagger, but nonetheless, Tim's a great guy. I've known him since last fall. We've had a few meetings together, and I hope you all can support him.
Thank you, Bob. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
So
Thank you,
Kelly,
Tim.
I'd like to jump in here and let
Yeah.
people know that we haven't gotten votes from a few people, and I just wanted to call them out, not to embarrass them, but so they realize that somehow their vote did not get submitted and they can maybe troubleshoot and figure out what's wrong. So let's see.
Just a reminder, it's a 2-step process. You have to actually submit on the site.
You have to submit your ballot, and we haven't yet gotten a ballot from Paul Depper and Gary Haley and well, Celeste Landry we knew about. That's weird. It sort of suggests that Celeste should have gotten a ballot. It went to your Earthlink address, Celeste. And Aaron Meckler, we don't have a vote from you.
He said he finished it.
Sorry?
Aaron is my husband. He said he finished voting.
Interesting. So the voting software is behaving as if he didn't click submit.
I did not get an email. Gary B. Haley.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Gary B. Haley.
Oh.
I did not get an email.
Let me see where it should have sent the email to. And you should check your spam folder, of course.
I have. I'm clicking all of it.
I got it, by the way. I'm now voting.
Okay. Yay! Celeste was not disenfranchised after all. And sorry, I don't understand why I didn't see you in the list, but in any case, so I'm sorry. It went to Gary at GaryBHaley.org.
Yeah. I've got it now.
Oh, great, good.
I've got it now.
And Paul Depper, and Josh Hare, we don't have a vote from. And Jennifer at crescendocp.com.
So if we don't live in Mesa County, are we supposed to vote for Mesa County Treasurer? Are we supposed to abstain or?
Yes, you as a Colorado Forward Party member, you get to vote for any of the candidates that we are proposing to nominate, irrespective of your voting district.
Yeah. So so we're operating as a state party, right? So we don't have county designations. We don't have precincts. As we grow, some of our communities are going to be of enough size that they will have their own, their own, for example, county. Like El Paso County, I could see becoming a separate chapter as part of the state party. Mesa County could be that. We've got a couple other locations that in the next couple of years could turn into that. And so then it would be more local voting, as long as we develop a critical mass of people in the area.
So Steve, and Dave, so we're at 4:34. Are we, how many minutes are we going to give until we say that voting is
How
closed?
about if we?
Good
how about if we-
question.
Steve, how about if we do this, and Kelly, I'll present a synopsis of the 6 bylaw amendments,
Okay.
and then hopefully that'll just take a few minutes, and then Steve, if you've maybe you can let us know what the results are that you have at that moment.
Right. Let's see. I just got a text from Wendy saying Aaron got his ballot, but he's still working it, and we're hoping that's going to get resolved pretty soon. And we're doing very well. Paul Depper, I'm not sure why he didn't vote. And let's see. Gary, you said you got your vote. Have you finished?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm having to refresh my screen to get an update.
No worries.
All right, Kelly, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen, and
Okay.
this should go fairly quickly here.
So I think I can go ahead and close the voting now.
As long as Gary's vote got in and Aaron's vote gets in, yeah, we're gonna have to close the voting at some point.
All right. Well, I think I see Aaron's vote here. Let me just double check. Yep. Okay, I'm closing the voting. Do you want me to announce the results?
Yeah, please, if you would. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And drum roll, please. The software is thinking hard. All right. So ballot submitted and results.
And Gil, you'll be able to publish these results in our email that'll come out here?
Yes, we will publish these results on our website.
Right.
And this is very impressive because there were all votes to approve and no votes to disapprove for every candidate.
Wow.
So they were elected by acclamation.
Okay. Yeah, we were debating whether to do a vote by acclamation, and we thought it best that as a convention we exercise the voting software, and also to just out. I mean, because it takes a very amount of trust by people in the audience to understand that we put a lot of effort into bringing these candidates forward and that you approve of them. So thank you.
Yeah, so people are essentially acknowledging that we did a good job there. Your voice is a little low, Dave. If you could crank up your microphone a little bit, maybe.
Alrighty. Yeah, so this next step here, and I'm just going to present these quickly, and then Steve will start the second vote. The way the bylaws are our constitution. Every political party has a set of bylaws. And in the first, so we were approved as a minor party in January of 2024. So we're just a little over 2 years old. And in that first year, the executive team gave ourselves the ability to, because we were, work in progress, to update the bylaws as needed. And as we moved into the second year, the number of changes that were required were quite minimal. But we're at the point right now where several, half a dozen items came up, but that we'd like to approve. But our bylaws now say that it requires approval by our voting members. And so it's a number of these are just, they're technical or just wording changes. So Amendment 1, and I said that's 5, that's actually 6, right? So 6. Is first an amendment to rename active member to voting member. We've got, in the bylaws, we outline 3 different types of members. Somebody who maybe just follows us on a website, somebody who donates to us. But to actually be a voting member, you need to be registered with the Forward Party and to sign off on the pledge of the Forward Party, which is basically a statement of our values. So that's Amendment 1, is just changing active member to voting member. There's a later amendment that I'll get to in a second that actually could be paired with this number 1, where we actually get into requiring ourselves, the executive team, to define supporter, member, and voting member. So we'll put some definition around that. But the Second Amendment is to comply with statutes, which the statutes refer to what we're doing today as an assembly. And in our eagerness to put bylaws together over 2 years ago, we used the word convention. So we want to change that to assembly. Third one has to do with modifying a quorum requirement. And so we're trying to give ourselves a greater, not greater, just put some flexibility, because as the number of voting members increases, and this is kind of aspirational, right? So if we have 1,500 voting members, we want to make sure that we have a quorum. So it's a minimum of consist of the greater of 2% of the voting members or 25 voting members. So we're above that today, 25 voting members, but we wanted to give ourselves the flexibility in the future as we grow to say either the greater of 2% or 25. The Fourth Amendment is, again, it's more in compliance with state statute. We use the word designation multiple places, and we want to replace it with nomination. The Fifth Amendment that I referred to is we want to put some more roles and responsibilities associated with being a supporter member or voting member. And then the sixth one is we created the bylaws back when we were called the Colorado Forward Party Committee, and we never updated that to Colorado Forward Party. So we're going to be changing our bylaws to reflect that. Now, Steve will put out we're going to vote on these individually, just like we did, and Steve will put that vote out now. But if there's any questions that folks have about this, and please unmute and ask if you have any questions. Please do. Also, just in general, how bylaws are used by your organization, how improvements can be made. We're always looking for folks who are interested in this kind of thing that can help us review our bylaws, make them sure that they're relevant, and always looking for ways to improve that. So if you'd like to help out with that, we'd love to have you contact us.
We have a question from our resident lawyer, Paul Gordon, and then Andy Young.
Yeah, Paul, please.
You have to unmute, Paul.
Here I am. Sorry, I have tremors, so when it comes time to push a button, I can be all over the place. I remember this discussion about the word committee in the name, and it had to do with complying or making sure we were set up to comply with federal regulations. And I also remember that there was no reason that I could think of why we wouldn't just call ourselves committee, with the understanding that if we want to do business as without the name committee, there was clearly nothing preventing us to do that within the state of Colorado. So I only mention that because that's my memory. Is there some reason why this came up and why anyone particularly cared?
Yeah, I don't remember the history on where those initials came from, Paul. It's just that's been in there since the origination of the document 2.5 years ago.
All right. Well, it's probably no big deal in the end, because if we become concerned about whether the word committee is in the name, we can always just amend the bylaws back.
Yeah, yeah.
But there was a very thoughtful, deliberate reason for what we did there back then, at least.
Okay, so if no harm in changing, we can always change back if we need to.
Right.
Yeah, the people do ask, what does that extra C stand for? And I don't have a good definition for it. Yeah.
Okay, next question is from Andy Young.
Yeah, Andy.
Hi, just a clarification of the mechanics on this vote. So this looks like a summary of the bylaw changes. Is that what we're voting on, or actual text?
Yeah. So
for the
everybody was
bylaw?
mailed out, and for your nighttime reading was our current bylaws, right? So you got the latest bylaws that we operate to, and wherever the change was, any one of these 1 through 6, anywhere the change affected the language in that current bylaws, I highlighted in red. So yes, this is just an abbreviation, if you will, or a synopsis of what the changes are. Right. So like
I guess what I'm getting at too, in the ballot itself, we'll see the full language, or this.
Yeah, you'll see a description of each of these. Yeah, you won't be voting on just the numbers 1 through 6.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So let me jump in here, Dave, and say I apologize because I was challenged to pay the voting software for this next election, which I did not expect. But that's okay, and it's covered, and the ballot should have gone out now to your email.
Okay, right.
Okay, we have one more question from Wendy Petrie.
I was just thinking that if we have an issue about changing the name, it might be better to leave it as it is until we flush it out, because we can't change the bylaws as easily anymore. And it's really not a problem at this point. It's just a little awkward.
Yeah, I mean,
That's just my thoughts.
Yeah. Steve, you were the original proponent of this change. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I had to deal with being charged for the election, and I missed the discussion of what the potential problem might be with changing our name.
Well, it was brought up by Paul Gordon that the use of the word committee was put into the original bylaws at the end of 2023, and it was done for a reason. And my understanding was because we weren't a political party yet. That's the reason.
Yes, that's what I thought.
May I chime in?
Yeah. Yep.
The reason it was done, I'm not entirely sure that we had to do it at the time. It had to do with knowing that we wanted to grow, and that someday we would grow into being more actively involved with the federal regulations. And the word committee actually matters at the federal level.
Okay.
There are numerous things that I am not permitted to say in my name as a law firm. So it's not unheard of for a statute to regulate a name, even though it otherwise, a rose is a rose. But I didn't want to be misunderstood to advocate for rejecting this amendment. I just wanted to chime in and say, actually, there was a reason for it.
Okay. So you're not because I would go with whatever you recommend. I mean,
Well, just let me comment that we don't have any interaction at the federal level. That's the national party. And of course, I don't know what their name is, but I'm sure they've dealt with it. And I don't think we have to worry about federal regulations.
I'm not sure that's true just yet. In fact, I think Mr. Chu's candidacy might finally put us there. But historically, it had to do more with how much money was being raised for a person running for a federal office. But again, we're still just a tiny little party, and I was just concerned about anticipating growth, not being there yet.
Well, if indeed it seems like there's going to be a problem, then it would seem advisable for people to vote against that particular amendment.
Okay, that's what I'm hearing, right? From Wendy, Paul, Steve. So as folks are voting, vote how you want. But I think the recommendation is for number 6, we'll hold off on making any change there. We are going to have another assembly coming up in 5 or 6 months. We have 9 members on our executive team, and half of the board their term is up. So we're going to be having board elections. We haven't called the meeting yet. It'll be the September time period, and so we'll have some time to think about this again.
And Celeste has her hand raised.
Yeah.
So I put in the chat the Colorado Secretary of State's political party directory, and it is listed as Colorado Forward Party. So I think probably it's good to be CFP and not CFPC.
To be consistent with the Secretary of State?
Yeah. And as a candidate, I want us to make sure we do this right. So, I mean, one thing we could do is we could say, we could authorize the leadership to check with the Secretary of State's office to see, or Paul Gordon to check with the appropriate people and do whatever we need to do to be in compliance.
That makes sense to me, that people vote in favor of the amendment, but understand that actually adopting it is contingent upon it not creating a problem for us.
I think I may have done a memo at the time, so I don't think it would be difficult for me to go back. I mean, I obviously keep all my notes of everything, and pull that memo and update it.
Joshua Hare says our bank account is also registered with CFPC because a party is not itself an entity in the state and can't have a bank account. Thanks, Bob, for joining us. Okay. So I don't know what impact that has, what Joshua's statement, what impact that has.
Josh, could you unmute and help us there?
I thought we were going to take these offline if it wasn't clear.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do this, folks. We're going to come back to this. Let's vote as you wish, but I'm going to vote no on this. And if it doesn't pass, then we'll revisit it. Yeah. We'll need to revisit it in either case. Yeah.
So I'm jumping over to the voting software to see kind of what the status of the vote is now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just completed my vote. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Let's
I
see.
have a question about Article 9. Could we see that copy? I'm trying to find the email that was sent that has all the things, but I'm not succeeding fast enough.
Yeah, so Article 8 and 9 refer to the articles in the bylaws.
I'm looking for my copy of the bylaws.
Okay.
But
It would have been the same email.
I think this is your suggestion.
Could be.
Yeah.
But I wrote in the chat that designation is if two people wanted to run for US Senate, we would be designating people onto the primary ballot. And we might want to leave that as an option for the future.
So you picked up on a nuance there. There is where are we now? So there is usage of the word designation that is different, just like you're describing, which I intentionally did not highlight for change. So it's only the words where you can actually tell it's intended for nomination that I propose changing. The word designation does actually have a specific meaning that's used once or twice.
Okay, so this is very interesting because it's talking about a vacancy committee in Amendment 4. And if it's a vacancy committee after the primary, you pick one person to be the nominee. If it's a vacancy before the primary and you had two people running, then I've never heard of a vacancy committee before a primary when there were two people running and one dropped out. Usually that one person remaining just becomes the designee / nominee.
Okay, so this is why bylaws are so exciting, right? So,
I like the committee idea.
Yeah, so I mean, I voted yes on the first 5 and no on number 6. So what I'd like to do is just bring this voting to a close and encourage everybody to submit.
Well,
if you don't, like Celeste brings up a question, if you don't feel comfortable voting yes on something, just vote no, and it's no big deal. Our working group, bylaws working group, will come back and address it.
It's not a big deal unless somebody really has it out for the forward party and wants to complain. But then we can go complain about every other party's rules because they're never perfect. So you're right. It's not a big deal.
Yep.
So the voting software, it has got some ballots in what it says are queued status, QUEUED. And I'm not really sure what that means. And all I can think to do here is just wait until the last ballots trickle in.
Well, I
Get
think
actually
just
counted.
encourage everybody, if you think you've voted, make sure that the submit button is not showing, because you gotta submit.
So I'm trying to click next vote. You said I
Yeah.
can keep it open and I click it and nothing happens.
Well, it worked for me is all I can
Oh,
say. I'm sorry.
It just worked.
Oh, okay.
All you have to do is ask.
Magic.
So right now we've got 36 of 41 ballots counted. And so I'm anticipating that within the next minute, it will count the last 5 and then I can close the election.
All right.
And we have the same voters who didn't vote in the last election who aren't apparently voting in this one.
Okay. Well, if it's any consolation for the folks that are still on the line here as we work our way through the bylaws, Blake Bogowski is back from the GOP state convention in Pueblo. Blake, are you still on the line here?
I am, Dave. I've hung out through all of this.
Okay. How did the convention go?
Well, it was definitely a rowdy and raucous affair. There was definitely a lot of vocal opinions that were had. They had 18 people originally slated for the governor position, but half of them didn't even show up, so that was interesting. And there was food trucks, so you can't even hate that. That was amazing.
Yeah. But I understand Bill Blomberg wrote me a note. He was also there. I don't know if Bill's on the line here, but there was I guess they just had internet problems for the first few hours trying to get everybody registered. And
oh yeah, the line lasted a solid 3 hours. It was quite the line to wait in.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're in and out of here in about 2 hours. So some of the big Democratic and Republican conventions can last quite a long time.
Yeah. Paul, did you raise your hand again? Do you have an additional? And it looks like Celeste just raised her hand.
Not on purpose.
Okay. All right. So Celeste.
So Blake, what happened with the 2 statewide contests that the Forward Party has candidates in, U.S. Senate and Secretary of State?
Well, unfortunately, Celeste, due to this prior commitment, I was not able to see all the way through regarding the Secretary of State. I was able to get through some of the governor, and that was about it.
Okay. I'm sure we'll find out, but since I debated 2 of those 4 Secretary of State candidates, I'm particularly interested. Thanks.
No problem. Of course.
Yes.
Okay, Steve, what's our status on voting?
Let's see. I think last I looked, it was 37 counted, and I went out to try and inquire of a search engine what the heck queued ballot status meant, and was not successful in that endeavor. And right now we have 37 of 41 ballots counted, with the others remaining queued. And let me just look through. Paul Depper and Jennifer are 2 of those, and they didn't vote in the last election. And maybe that's what it meant. Oh, and Aaron, I don't think Aaron's vote got counted in the last election, Wendy. And so.
And he didn't even try to count in this one. That's okay.
Yeah, okay. He probably couldn't have. And then we got 1 more queued. So I'm speculating actually that those people are not voting. Ike Toman is the other person we have showing queued, and maybe that just means they're not going to submit their vote. So what do you think, Dave? Should I go ahead and
Yeah,
close the
yeah, I
election?
think we can close the vote now. Yeah.
Okay. So where are we here? Close now.
Yeah, Toman and
Okay.
Meckler are no longer on the call. What was the other name?
Ike Toman?
No, there you said wasn't there one more?
Well,
Meckler
it was
and
Paul Klepper or something like that. I'm sorry, I'm spacing on the exact name. Okay, so now I ought to be able to see the results here. Okay. So it was a vote to approve all of the amendments, and almost all of them, nobody voted against, except for the last one where it passed by 16 votes in favor and 13 opposed. So but it did pass the Sixth Amendment.
All right. No problem. Our
Steve, you've kept track of all the votes for and for all the candidates in particular, because we have to fill that in for the assembly designation forms.
Okay, I downloaded the results now, and I tried to download the actual, votes, each person who voted, but I haven't looked at that yet to confirm that I have that. Do we need the names of each person that voted?
No, but one thing that the form asks for is the vacancy committee. So if
Well,
something
this is not a
happens,
vacancy committee. What?
so if something happens to me, say the forward party may decide that John Lemke should be the candidate for Secretary of State, and the vacancy committee could make that happen.
I see. And we don't have a vacancy committee yet, but we'll be happy to form one if we need one. But I hope nothing happens to John or you
or me.
Okay, so let's just to bring our formal meeting to a close. We have the votes.
David, Dave, we have to vote on this. We have to decide this in the group. So it can either be party bylaws, it could be everybody who voted can be part of the vacancy committee. So I'd like to make a motion that the vacancy committee be for if something happens to a candidate, be the people who voted originally, the people who have attended, who are voting members.
All right, that sounds like a good amendment. Yeah.
I'd like to clarify something. Is that only for a vacancy during the campaign?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then there's some rules in statute, at least for the major parties, about vacancy committees for elected officials. Yeah.
Yeah, but there is that vacancy committee for candidates, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think if we had a real vacancy committee, we would look at the Utah model.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah. So, Celeste, you made a motion. I mean, I would second that. I mean, that sounds like a nice amendment or a nice thing to vote on. And Kelly, what we're going to do is, so Celeste made a motion to create a vacancy committee made up of the people who voted in today's election. So we have a first and a second. And so I think if we could, have a raise of hands of people who object to that?
Yeah, point of order real quick on that regard. Yeah. So you're proposing that we get 41 people together again if we need to, or 45, pardon me, if we need to reappoint someone into the vacancy committee, a committee made up of 41 people?
They would be the ones that are contacted, yeah.
I think the quota, you need to have 50% of the 41 people show up.
Well, is that what we're proposing here? Is that we need to have 50% of the 41 people show up to be part of the vacancy committee?
Yeah, and people say, oh, that's difficult. I've never seen fewer than 80% of the people show up. I mean, it's a big deal picking the candidate.
And so Blake and I were just in a discussion with someone, and I don't want to get into having a vacancy in the first place. If somebody drops out, they drop out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another option. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Another option is that the candidate can pick their own vacancy committee. So, for instance, I could pick Dave, Ryan, and Blake to be the vacancy committee, and they could pick the replacement.
All right. Well, yes. One of the things that we've done here as a party is be very conscientious of the people that we bring forward, and to do something kind of on the fly just doesn't seem right.
Still a little louder, Dave.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem right to if somebody drops out to quick scramble and find somebody to fill the slot with all the work we put into developing the relationships with you. So
yeah, and Dave and Blake, and please correct me if I'm wrong. The vacancy committee simply is the people who could choose the rules to offer something closer to like the Utah model.
Well, that's a good point, JP. Yeah.
Okay, I'm having a little trouble following what's happening here. So we had an agenda.
All right.
We voted on bylaw amendments. Celeste is putting something forward, and it feels like there are a bunch of different ideas.
Yeah, let me suggest this. One of the things that we didn't want to get into was amendments today, and I jumped right into it because Celeste, you proposed it. This is something we can handle with the executive team, right? We don't have to handle this today.
Well, in that spirit, then I would ask for a suspension of this question. We could table it for later.
Yeah. Yep.
The forms that we turn in within 4 days via email or 10 days with the originals ask for a vacancy committee.
And is there an option for no vacancy committee?
Sorry?
Is there an option for no vacancy committee?
There's an option for doing it per the bylaws, or I have to look up the form.
Okay, but the executive committee could potentially deal with this within the next 4 days. Is this what I'm hearing? Answer the question. I mean, to address this matter, David, or no?
I can, if you let me share the screen, I can show you what it says on the form that we have to fill out. Is that okay?
Yeah, I would really like to have the executive team handle this offline. Because I really just don't see us having a vacancy committee.
So the form is certificate of designation by assembly. This is the meeting we just had. You write down the votes, and this is what I was talking to Steve about.
Right.
Number of votes received, percentage of vote received. And then number 6 here, Assembly Vacancy Committee. It says the Assembly did not select vacancy committee members. Any vacancy and designation will be filled per party bylaws.
We have party bylaws that address.
And so that all we have to do is fill that in.
Yeah,
and
just
we're
check the
good.
box. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.
Thanks, Celeste. Wes, you have a question or a comment?
No, not any longer. Thank you.
Okay, great. So let's move to adjourn the meeting then,
Please,
Dave?
Yep.
Okay, so will someone make a motion? Will someone make a motion to conclude our assembly?
I so move.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand.
Looks unanimous.
Okay. Hey, good work, people.
Yes, thank you, everybody. That was awesome.
Thank you, everyone. Candidates, we're so excited to support you, and we look forward to great outcomes.